Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And I'm here to continue on the series I decided to start about the items that I carry in my prepper's purse. Now, I'm not going to just be talking about my purse, but each step, because I have this whole system. So I have the smaller one, and by the way, I do have videos I put out 2 years ago about this. You can check them out if you want. I'll link to them down below. However, I'm going to be going more in depth, and things have changed a little bit since I've done those videos. So if you're interested in the first video in this particular series, I'll link to it up here and down below as well. And I talked about the 2 different purses I have like this that I've made and how I switch them out. I wash, so I can wash one, and I have 2. They've lasted me for years. And you can check that out there. And so what I'm doing is I had to transfer stuff from my old purse, since I do that twice a year, into this. And so it's got me kind of wanting to go over all my stuff again, check and make sure everything's working that I keep in there. And then I figured I'd go ahead and do this series and talk about some of the various things I keep. So the first bag is this small one. This is basically a wallet. It's actually a fanny pack, but that's not what I bought it for. I bought it to use as a smaller bag that I can just grab out of my purse if I don't feel like carrying my whole purse, if I'm just running into the bank or whatever, and this is all I need. I'm not going to talk about each and everything that's in each of these bags right now. I'm just going to be breaking it down in parts, talking about some of the things and why I carry them. And then I'm going to be going on to the next step up, which is, this would be my prepper's purse part 2. So this is also, even though it's a sling pack, this is also used as a purse. I have used it as a purse. This is not something I typically carry, but I try to always keep it in my rig at all times, as with my bug out bag. And I will get to that eventually. That will be towards the end of the series. But we'll be starting here with the smaller things, the things that I'm usually carrying all the time, and then moving up to the things that I typically keep in the rig all the time. And the reason I say typically is because we're switching our rigs around all the time, and sometimes I don't always remember to transfer the bags over to the current rig that we're using, because we'll trade them up every so often, and we might have this truck on suspension for a while we're using this one, and vice versa. So it's just a way that we save money, and we just use the rigs according to what we're needing at the time. So let's talk about these particular items I'm going to focus on and what's in. Of course, as any prepper should have, these are the 2 other knives that I keep in my purse. So I actually keep a total of 3 knives in my purse. And if you saw my last video, you would have seen the one was a Skeletool. So that is an all-around tool, but I always like to have a couple of extra knives. And believe it or not, these knives, both of these knives, actually all 3 of my knives, have come in handy at certain events where people either needed a knife, or they needed pliers, and I was able to let them borrow those things, and of course I got them back. So you'll be surprised that one of them was at my daughter-in-law's bridal shower this past summer. Nobody thought to bring a knife to cut the cake with, and so this knife right here ended up getting used for that very purpose, which of course I had to bring it home and clean it up really good because it had frosting all caked into it. But it was better than not having a knife at all. So at least they still had something to cut the cake with. And then, and of course, I've used these knives. They've come in handy for just needing to cut something while I was out. We're on the road, and I had something I needed to cut, whether it be I was crocheting and I just need to cut my yarn. I do typically keep a pair of scissors with me, but my knives are usually handier to get to, so those are typically what I use. Now this smaller knife, this little Humvee, this one I like to keep in this. So each bag, every bag has a knife in it, at least one. So if I need to grab just this bag out and I don't feel like carrying my full purse, I still have a knife on me. And there's another knife that I do tend to wear a lot. I'll talk about that in another video. And then this knife goes inside this purse here. Then a couple of items that people still think of as being more prepper related are going to be flashlights. So I have your standard cheap little LED flashlight that you can usually depend on for a while because it has a long battery life. But as with a lot of these little LED lights, they're not, they don't tend to last a very long time. The light, the battery life and all that's fine, but the lights tend to just go wonky after a while. So I always have a mag light. I love mag light. They're sturdy. They last forever. Now that mag light is making the LED version, that's what I'd recommend getting. It's just like this one. I love this little tiny one because it doesn't take up a lot of room in my purse or add a whole lot of extra weight. This one is an incandescent light. So it's obviously going to use up more battery power than the LED, and that's why I say go with the LED. And the LED lights tend to be a little bit brighter, but I still really like this thing. And here's the deal. I also always keep 2 extra batteries in my purse. If I leave it on, like happened recently, I turned it on and thought I had it off and I didn't, and ran the battery down. Now I've got 2 extra batteries to cover that, as well as in this little bag, along with the batteries, is an extra bulb if this one ever breaks or goes bad for any reason. So love the mag light. It's always a good option. Now, here's an item that people might not think, because they often associate the word prepper as somebody who's preparing for the end of the world, some major catastrophic event. Well, when you prepare for something, it's not always going to be catastrophic. Let's think of all the ways I've had to use my knives. It wasn't to defend myself. I've never had to use my knives to defend myself, but they've come in handy so many times. So same thing with the tape measure. I doubt that anybody would ever need to use this to defend themselves, or that it's going to save them from some major catastrophic event. However, it's still being prepared. So when you go to the store, you're in the Home Depot, you need measurements on something, and this has been used so many times. I bought this for me to keep in my purse, because there's always been so many times where I've needed a tape measure, and this has been used many times by both me and Patrick. But when Patrick uses it, I have to make sure he gives it back. Sometimes he forgets and sticks it in his pocket, where this is to stay in my purse at all times. And so you just never know. When you're out and about, you go to the store and you realize you need measurements, you need to know how exactly the size of something that's there. You've got your tape measure with you, it's ready to go. So I think this is a valuable item to keep in your purse, or whatever it is, if you're a guy, whatever it is that, just keep it in your rig so it's handy. You can get smaller ones. In fact, I do have one that's smaller than this one. This one's 10 feet. That's why I went with this one. But you can get one that's only 3 feet. That's about a quarter of this size, and you can have it as a keychain. And that could be useful too, depending on what you're needing to measure. Moving on to some more preppery items. One of the things I always keep in my purse is a bottle of my homemade colloidal silver eye drops. Basically, all this is my homemade colloidal silver, not diluted, with just a pinch of salt in there, so it helps to match the body chemistry. That makes it feel a lot better when needing to use it in your eyes, because you never know if you might need to flush something out. This would also be good for wound treatment if you get a cut, a scrape, or whatever. Even with that little bit of salt, if you can put it in your eyes, you can certainly put it in a wound, because typically what's used to clean out wounds, a saline solution. So yeah, this is going to be ideal. Obviously, there's not a whole lot here, but it's enough for, minor things and for using as your eye drops. A couple other things I like to keep. One of these is not at all an emergency. This is simply my essential oil blend that I like to use as a perfume. So it's a blend of clove and orange. It's my favorite blend to wear. So it's my perfume replacement. So on this one, I actually did put one of the little roller balls on there. So, if I forget to put it on before I leave, I've just got it. I just love the smell. Sometimes I just enjoy to smell it. It makes me feel happy. This one, though, is more for medicinal purposes. So if I'm out and about and, we got some kind of ache or pain or headache or whatever, I don't typically carry feverfew and catnip tincture or fresh feverfew and catnip on hand from my garden. That's not usually going to happen. but I can carry some essential oils that I know really help with headaches. And this is my own personal blend. It is a blend of rosemary and lavender, mostly, with a little bit of peppermint oil in there. People are gonna find various different essential oils are gonna help. Rosemary is not one people think of typically for headaches, but the reason I like to add it to the blend is a lot of times when you're feeling especially if it's a headache, you might have kind of a brain fog or whatever. The rosemary helps to sort of clear everything out. It just kind of wakes you up and makes you feel more clear thinking. And then the lavender is going to, and the peppermint are going to be soothing and also help to reduce pain. And so what we do is we just take a little bit of this and we'll just rub it right under our nose. And to me, this has worked wonders for pain, especially for headaches. So that's what that is for. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about is what's in this little bag here. Now, here's the funny thing is we're very short people. And so Patrick had a set of some rain gear. Well, we each have a set. And, you know, obviously, because of being so short, we have to hem things a lot. So all this you see here came off the chunk that I had to cut off the leg of his waterproof gear, including the snap setup here. So I use that to make myself a little waterproof bag. See, it's lined. And I can use this for all kinds of things. I can use this for feminine products, which I don't really need anymore because I'm past that point in my life. However, what I am using it for now is I keep a set of hand warmers in here. This has got 2 hand warmers in it, and it must have got crushed or something because it feels like this might need to be replaced, which is fine. This is why it's a good idea to go ahead and go through your stuff at least a couple times a year. So I'm going to put a new set of hand warmers in there, especially since it's winter. This is important. And then the big thing I have, oh, here's that other tie I was talking about. That's made out of that little bit heavier weight cording. It's not paracord, but it's made like paracord, but you can't call it that because it's not that heavy. It's not a 550 weight. This is goes up to 110 pounds. But you can go check out the other video and find out how I make these and why and what I use them for. But the main thing that's in here is my Sawyer water purifier. So I decided this would be the best place to keep it in. I like the Sawyer because it's smaller. I have another water purifier that goes into one of my other bags that's bigger. And so, but this one is a nice small size for keeping in a purse. The other thing I keep in here is this little flint lighter here. And this was, I can't remember the name of it. I bought it a couple of years ago. So I got us each one. And so it's just another way that besides the lighter that I always carry, this is just another type of lighter that you can keep in your purse. So yeah, I like having a few different ways to light fire, and these are just a couple. We have other ways of lighting fire. All right, so those are the items I was going to talk about today. I still have more to come about what's in my purse, as well as I'm going to be moving on to what I keep in this bag probably in the next video. So I hope you're enjoying this series, and stay tuned for more to come as we move through these various items and I update everything as I go and replace the things that are bad, and you know, check and make sure all my flashlights are working just fine, and you know, that's obviously important. Oh, and also don't forget to go ahead and add your suggestions and comments and things that you like to carry in your purses and bags. All right, thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.